Okay, now that the bow is pretty much done, I'm going to show you guys how to make a pretty simple string for it. This is basically a revisit of the counter twist string, just a 2-bundle string. So what I'm going to be using is some string material. This is probably some sort of Dyneema blend. It's a more high performance string, so I'm going to be making it a little thicker, a little overbuilt, so it'll be good for these knocks. Basically what you want to do is you take your string material and then measure out your bow from end to end, and then I add about an extra foot or two. So you go ahead, fold that over, and then you just want to make 2 bundles. So I'm going to go 20 strands on this string. So that's 2 bundles of 10. Alright, so now that I've got my 10 strands, put that on the side. Well, first measure one of the strands of my next bundle, put the first bundle aside, and then go ahead and make my second bundle of 10. Alright. So now I have my 2 bundles. So take my 2 bundles side by side. I'm going to go ahead and I take my bow, and I kind of hold the bow up next to the strands. I make sure I have about 6 inches on one end, so I can make adjustments and whatnot. Then I take the rest of the other end and I start twisting. So you want to take these and just start twisting counterclockwise. Counterclockwise twist. Take the other counterclockwise twist. Then you bring them together. You give it a clockwise twist. And it forms some rope. So you just want to do that a little bit so we get a good sized loop. Alright. So now that we've got our loop established, you're going to take both sides of the loop, and I like to give it a little more twist, just to make sure that it holds together really well. Then you want to sort of take the opposite sides and pair them up. Kind of bring them together like this. Now you want to continue counterclockwise twist. So you take one whole tab, give it a counterclockwise twist until it bunches up. Do the same with the other. Counterclockwise twist until it bunches up. Put both together. Clockwise twist. So you go ahead, you just do that to the end and a little bit beyond the end of that tab. Hold on to that. Wrap this up. All the way to the end a little bit. Put them together. Clockwise twist. All right, there you go. Now what I like to do is I just take my whole strand and I give it some counterclockwise twists to get rid of some of the twists that I accidentally put in there as a consequence of doing the clockwise twist. So just want to go ahead and twist it. So this is counterclockwise. Okay. Then you go ahead, you do the same to the other cord. Just give it counterclockwise twist. Now bring them together and compare the lengths. Whichever one's longer gets a little more twist. That's one way to make sure you have an equal number of twists, because they started off the same length, so they should end up the same length. Okay. So once they're the same length, you take your whole string and you give it a clockwise twist. And I like to pull on it, put your finger in the loop, pull on it. There you have your string. So now what I like to do is the very end, I'll give it a really hard counterclockwise twist. Maybe about 4 or 5 inches of the end. Make sure it's all lined up. And just give it a hard clockwise twist. Really lock it into place. Now on the end here, I like to give a little overhand knot, just so that it doesn't unravel past a certain point. So now that we have our string, Now to put this on our bow, the simplest thing to do is to kind of get an idea of how this bow is bending and where everything's going to go. You take your loop, take one of your knocks, put the loop on the knock, and you take the string to the other side. Now what you want to do is you want to just sort of, as if you were bracing the bow up, sort of mock brace it. So you can see, here's the bow. There's just a little loop here, that's all it is. Just so I can get an idea of how this bow's looking. So I need to put just a little more. Because this is such a short bow, I'm actually going for a very low brace height, probably around 4.5 to 5 inches of brace height. Nothing too extreme. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so you take that. So this is where the bow's going to be. Keep that in mind, where your string is. Go ahead and keep that little loop you made. Take the loop off your string. Now this side was bending a little more, so this is going to become my top limb. So you go to your bottom limb, you place your little loop on there. So I've got my little loop, this is where the loop ended up. Let me get this straightened up real quick. Okay. So this is where my loop ended up. So what you do is you take this loose end, bring it in, so bring it around the other one, the other cord, bring it back around itself, and then you sort of wrap it around itself. This is a timber hitch, really simple knot. This is going to help hold the cord securely onto the bow. So just keep doing that a little bit. Alright. So once that's done, go ahead, place it on your bow, and then just pull the cord through and it will tighten this up. Make sure it's centered like this, because if it's centered, then this string will actually hold this end of the bow together and it won't need any other reinforcement. So now we take our bow, we string it up and see how it does. So here we can play with it a little bit. But here it is. Here's the bow strung up. Alright, here's the bow. It's all settled in, so I'm going to shoot it for you guys real quick. There we go. There it is. So it's pretty much the way I want it to be. So now we're going to start finishing it. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is, this bow is more or less based on the bows of the Seminole Indians down in Florida. And I'm actually doing this build along for a friend, so he wanted to see if I could figure out a finish that looked like cypress wood, which is what they use in their bows. I really like cypress. It's a beautiful sort of yellow, orangey wood. So I'm going to show you a slightly different variation on the full wood grain effect that I do with, what is that stuff called? With shoe polish. So it's basically going to be done in a similar way, except it's a little bit different. So I'm going to show you how to do that.